All right, let's get this show on the road. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for September 21st, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and Trustee Apatow will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a reminder, everybody in the room, please turn off or mute your cell phones or other electronic devices. And we'll move on to quorum check. Rob, would you like to check quorum for the upcoming meetings?
Certainly, thank you. October the 5th, the 12th, and the 19th.
I will be out of town on the 5th.
On the 5th, okay. Any other conflicts?
Nope.
And then also October 29th is the all-day budget workshop, Friday the 29th. So we telegraphed
Wonderful day.
that a couple of times, so,
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I told you that I have to leave
yes.
to catch a flight. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Okay,
You got what you need?
I got what I need, thank you.
Awesome. All right, item 4 is public comment. This is the time of the evening where members of the public can address the village council on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. And what we do is open the microphone up, and anybody who wishes to can come on up and share their thoughts with us. Would anybody like to address council on an item not on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll turn to the assistant village manager and see if we had any correspondence this week.
President Rentz, we did have one public comment submitted in advance via email. Hello, Winnetka Council members. I would like to voice my support for a village ordinance which would allow residents to have native plant gardens on the parkway of their residence. My address is 786 Foxdale. My parkway is in need of a makeover, and I would prefer to use native plants rather than plant grass again. I know the grass cannot hold water or store carbon the way native plants do. I would be willing to be a test site if you were looking for a property. As a lakeside community, we need to demonstrate stewardship towards the lake and the quality of water. Native gardens are an easy and environmentally friendly way to help deal with the polluted runoff from rooftops and pavements. I walk my neighborhood a lot. In doing so, I see Winnetka residents watering the parkway, but in reality, most of the water is running down the curb to the sewer drain. Native gardens are drought tolerant, which means the roots of the plants reach deep down into the soil, thus needing less watering. And when there are heavy rains, which we are experiencing now, native plants have a larger capacity to hold water than grass does. I recently spent a weekend in Michigan City, Indiana, where I saw the city has installed native gardens at the street corners of the business district. The curbs were designed in such a way that water runoff from the buildings and street would filter through the garden and then down the sewer drain. It was good to see a lakeside community using this simple strategy to improve and protect the natural environment. As a community, this would be a great step forward for our natural environment. Thank you for your consideration. Best regards, Lynn L. Zaransky.
Great. Thanks, Kristen. Rob, could you have somebody follow up with her?
Sure. Jim Bernal will follow up on this matter. So we do have a parkway planting permit process, so that would be the first step, and then there's the guidance from the EFC that was shared before. So I think there's a bit of a blueprint, and there's been a couple other properties that we've worked with in town that already has that in place.
Awesome. Great, thank you. All right, well, after any other public comment there, Kristen?
That concludes public comment, President Rentz.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll move on to reports. Trustees, we'll start with Trustee Apatow. Any report, Rob?
One quick thing. It's been last weekend or two have been a pretty big weekend for Winnetka, and I just want to call out the kind of the public-private partnership with on the Music Fest. The amount of work that was put into that to bring something like that to the village is amazing. Rob and his team, the Park District, Val and Mark Haller and Scott Myers did I can't tell you put how many hours into this to bring that to the village. So I just wanted to say thank you to them, because it's a lot of work for not a lot of return. So that's all I got.
Thanks. Andy, any report?
No report.
Bob, any report? John?
No report?
And our newest trustee hasn't reported much of anything yet.
No report.
Okay, village manager,
No report this evening.
village attorney? And village president, I have no report. What I'd like to do is since one of my proposed appointees came out this evening, Katie Moore, I would like to, if we at all can, move the appointments up in the agenda and take care of them now, so Katie doesn't have to sit and listen to us talk all evening. Would that be okay? Any problems?
Yes.
Great. All right, so I'm going to move to appointments then. Doesn't that make you feel special? Okay. Appointment number 1 is to reappoint Layla Danley to a 3-year term on the Plan Commission. Her term will expire on September 21st, 2024. May I have a motion to reappoint Layla Danley?
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 2, appoint Katie Moore to a 3-year term on the Design Review Board. Her term will expire on November 15th, 2024. Katie is filling a vacancy, a long-standing vacancy, when Brad McLean left to serve New Trier High School. May I have a motion to appoint Katie Moore to the Design Review Board?
So moved.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations. Welcome to the land of working for free. And finally, appoint Patrick Hanley to a 3-year term on the EFC, Environmental and Forestry Commission. His term will begin on October 21st, 2021, and will expire on October 21, 2024. Patrick is filling a vacancy from Chris Foley's resignation as of October 20th, 2021. We're really going to miss Chris Foley. He was also the liaison to the Plan Commission. Just an outstanding mind, and sorry to lose him, but life goes on. So may I have a motion to appoint Patrick Hanley to a full term on the Environmental and Forestry Commission?
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we'll jump back onto the main agenda. That's it.
Thank you.
Next time you can bring some cookies. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Or run down and come back.
It's worth a try. Okay, we'll move forward. The approval of the agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And then item 7 is the consent agenda. I will ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of the village council meeting minutes for August 17th, 2021, regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated August 27th through September 9th in the amount of $4,118,969.59. Ordinance number M15, 2021, 1184 Tower Road variations. And resolution number R79, 2021, appointing village treasurer for adoption.
Great. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Kripe? Yes. Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn? Yes. Trustee Apatow?
That motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving along. Item 8, ordinances and resolution. Ordinance number MC5, 2021, amending liquor code. This is for introduction. This ordinance contains a proposed amendment to update the Class F liquor license. Police Chief Mark Hornstein will review. Chief, it's all yours. Thank you.
Good evening, President Rents, Council. So Winnetka has done a fantastic job of attracting new businesses to the community. And as such, when they come in, if there's going to be a business that wants to sell liquor, they come to the police department and apply for a license. What we do is we look at their business model and we see if it will fit into any of the 18 variations of the current licenses that are in the code. So we received an application from Hometown Coffee and Juice, which is looking to hopefully open up next month. And in reviewing their business model, we looked at them. They didn't quite fit into one of these 18 categories that I talked about. They don't fit the classification of a restaurant. Their sales are primarily in the form of coffee and non-alcoholic beverages. So in reviewing it, we thought the best thing to do would to slide them into the Class F, which is a coffee shop, with the recommendation of making 2 changes to the code. What those 2 changes would be one, to allow not just the sale of beer and wine, but also for liquor, which essentially would be cocktails, because their business model calls for the sale of cocktails. The second component of that would be to change the allotted hours that the license allows. So currently, right now, under the Class F coffee shop, you could not begin to sell alcohol until 5 o'clock. And with Hometown Coffee and Juice, they obviously would like to begin selling earlier. So we're recommending that with the code amendment that they would be able to begin selling at 9 a.m. So with those 2 proposed amendments to the code, their business model would fit, and we'd be able to accommodate the request that they are seeking. So with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Questions? Go ahead, Rob.
Is this model, if they're using this model in their Glencoe store, are they selling alcohol there?
Yeah, that's correct. About 3% of sales in Glencore are alcohol.
Okay, and what time does Hometown close?
They're proposing to stay open until 5 p.m., typically 5 p.m. There's some occasions where they said they would maybe be 7 o'clock, but generally they're looking at 5 p.m. for closing time.
And so, do you know what the predominant of their sales of their alcohol, 3%, is it hard liquor or is it beer and wine? Do you know what that 3% makes?
I don't have that breakdown. I've got 60 to 65% for coffee and non-alcoholic, and just 3% aggregate for alcohol.
I think it's like Irish coffee. That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, that's pretty much. And whatever happened to Starbucks? I know we did this for them a few years ago. Did they just give up on it, or?
Yeah. So currently, for all the license holders in the village, there's nobody that's holding an F.
Yeah.
Starbucks they let it expire.
Okay.
Chief, why is it that the 9 a.m. for hard liquor kind of bothers me a little bit? I don't understand it.
Wait.
What did Hometown want? I'm sorry, I just don't start till about 11.
You want
Bloody Mary, maybe?
7 a.m.?
What did Hometown want? Did they come in and say, we'd like to start serving hard liquor at 9 a.m.?
So it's really, they want to have the ability to sell cocktails. Now, they do offer food.
Right.
And I think the rationale, at least in my recommendation, to move it to 9 a.m. is that would make it consistent with what we allow the restaurants to do now. So you could go to a restaurant, you have a license that caters to the business model of a restaurant, and you could be served at 9 a.m.
Give me an example of a restaurant in Winnetka where I can go at 9 a.m. and get a gin and tonic.
So the majority, I've got the listing here if you want, but the majority of our restaurants are A1 holders. So whatever time their hours of operation that they open, the code does allow for it to be 9.
I understand that, but I don't know, it seems kind of extreme to me. I don't know.
So what is Town and Oak? Is that because they?
They're actually a very unique category. They're a Y
Okay.
because they're a banquet facility.
Oh,
So
okay.
what time can they serve liquor in the restaurant, the front part?
I would have to because we have 18 different classifications, I would have to double check the hours for that one.
I think
What store are you talking about?
Town and Oak, the.
I don't know. Okay, thank you.
You know, breakfast, oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I think the brunch situation, people may have, I don't know about hard liquor or, I I'm assuming like a Bloody Mary in the morning, but I do know, like mimosas and things like that on the weekends. I'm not sure how many people at 9 a.m. on a weekday are drinking alcohol, but I think it's probably on the weekends, I would assume.
I mean, they could have a bar like, the restaurant down the street here. They could have a bar in the back with every liquor there. They could, order single malt scotch at 9 a.m. I could just, I don't know. I wouldn't, lay in the road to stop it, but it seems just kind of ruined to me. Did they ask, I'm really serious, did they ask for this? What did Hometown want from us?
They want to have the ability to serve cocktails.
I understand that, but they wanted that at 9 a.m.?
We're proposing 9 a.m. just because it's consistent with the restaurants.
I agree with the Bloody Mary thing, if you wanted 11 a.m. for a brunch, but I don't know.
I guess I don't see it the same as Toco or Minos. I see it as a different kind of establishment, and those places would not be open to serve liquor. I mean, I'd be interested to see if we have any store, any restaurant in town, anyone that would ever serve a hard alcoholic beverage at 9 a.m., but this one might. They well might. I mean, because they'll be open and, 21-year-old comes in, they want a couple of single malt scotches. I don't
I'm not sure about any place in Winnetka. I mean, I see where you're coming from. I don't think there's a place in Winnetka that has that, but I think if you go to like Ridgeview Cafe, you can get a Bloody Mary there at probably 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock. I've not done it,
just don't know.
for the record.
Yeah. I just don't know.
But, I think it is really more I don't think they're anticipating that having a bar crowd, I would guess.
And I don't think in Glencoe, is this aligned with their hours in Glencoe? Do they have, they serve alcohol in Glencoe?
Yeah, with it only amounting to 3% of their sales with their Glencoe store, from a public safety perspective, I'm not concerned about it.
So
Yeah,
what,
have you been to the Glencoe?
I have been.
It's like avocado toast at 9 a.m.
what would happen if we got to the point where it became a problem, that we thought it was a problem, and maybe 80% of the stuff was alcohol sales in the morning? What do we have to go back on with that liquor license? Any recourse that we could have to go back and
Yeah.
withdraw it?
Yeah, I mean, so with any license that council approves, if we begin to receive nuisance complaints, criminal activity, conduct that is unbecoming, these are all things that we can come back to the liquor commissioner and request
We also can
review.
amend- We also can amend the classification. These are only one-year licenses, so we have the ability to amend. If
Right,
we had a problem and we wanted to move the hours, we could do that.
Yeah, I know it's hard to track. Do you want to maybe add in there that it has to be no more than 10% of their sales? I mean, it's hard to track and actually police, but.
Chief,
Yeah, right.
what is the ordinance in Glencoe for their store, for hard liquor? Do we know?
I don't have Glencoe's ordinance.
I guess I'd be kind of interested in what they're doing up there.
Yeah, I have an idea. I think I'm not comfortable with this at all, to be honest with you. And the next thing you know, they'll be serving little airline bottles, in the back of the store for people getting on the train.
Big on
And I'm
beer-
not being,
big on
I'm being
beer.
facetious, but the fact is that it could devolve into something that we really don't care for. I remember a time when nobody could drink anything anywhere in this town, so, these incremental changes are significant sometimes. What I would like to do is reach out to the store owner. I mean, they're nowhere near opening yet. I was in there yesterday, and we have a little time on this. And I'd rather just reach out to the ownership and find out what their intention are. That way I can bring it back to you guys, report what I found out, and then we can have some reasonable deliberations. It just doesn't sound like, without them here to answer the hard questions, I think it becomes really difficult for us to wrap our head around. And you can see all the permutations that we're thinking of just in 5 minutes here, so.
But on the other hand, like 501, if they've got a license at 9 o'clock in the morning, they open up on Saturdays or Sundays for a brunch, how is this different than them?
Right.
I mean, but 9 o'clock is what we have on the other restaurants.
The other thing I'll point out, I mean, this classification is dependent on it primarily being a coffee shop, which is a defined term. And so that's why the 3% thing is significant, and that's why it doesn't fit into any other category. If they became something that is not a coffee shop, then this wouldn't be appropriate for them. So I think what might be helpful is just they tell us what their drink menu is, just so if people ask us, like, what the hell are you guys doing? We can say, well, it's so you can get an Irish coffee, with brunch. And we've seen the menu. That's, I think, would be helpful. Otherwise, I don't think we have to pull it too hard through the needle, because it is a coffee shop. They have to be primarily in the business of the sale, over-the-counter, coffee, tea, coffee-based beverages, tea-based beverages, food items, including baked goods, sandwiches, et cetera. So
why would that be, and I'm glad we're gonna bring this back with more information, but why, I guess I don't understand why we're bringing the restaurants, the Tocos of the world, together with the hometowns of the world. I mean, they're very different businesses. None of those businesses, I mean, maybe they're open for brunch on the weekends, I don't know, but
Right.
they're not open the weekdays at 9 a.m. serving liquor. I mean, I think if you went to those restaurants and say, you know what, we're gonna change our ordinance and we're gonna let you serve hard liquor starting at noon, or they wouldn't care probably.
And I think what hometown is, and you all may know better than me from going to Glencoe, but I think that the liquor is like, the cocktails aren't like just liquor cocktails. They're like coffee-based.
Okay, maybe that could
They
be
relate to what they sell.
put into the ordinance in some way or something, I don't know.
Or maybe they're just straight up Jack Daniels, in which case I'm all in favor of it.
And is it all to consume on premises, not to go, right?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
That's, Tina?
The only other question, if you're going to go back to the business owner, is it looks like a fairly large space, and you may have already seen a presentation. I mean, I could see a situation where they do want to maybe rent it out for like a baby shower, a bridesmaid shower, or something like that. I don't know if it's a big enough space for that. And then I don't know, are they going to do, and maybe that's a different classification for banquet, but is that also a potential in their business model? Because looks like it's going to be substantially bigger than the Glencoe location.
Oh, much bigger, yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to change how they operate here.
I do know banquet halls is special use under our code and would be different, and
I just wouldn't want to restrain their business opportunities.
yeah,
I hear your concern about,
yeah.
but I don't think the market is necessarily for hard cocktails.
Maybe we just have to understand it.
Yeah, I just get a sense we
helpful
don't
to
have enough
know.
information here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not voting, but at the same time, I'd like to know more about what their intentions are before I call for a motion and ask somebody to move forward on this, so, if that's okay?
Yeah, and you can mention too, they don't have their liquor drink menu online, so it's hard to, so if they just gave it to us, that'd be a huge help.
And is it visible like a bar when you have all these kids going in there for treats and moms and families? Is it a full bar looking right at the kids when they come in? I don't know if that's relevant or not, but it's
No,
just something to think about.
when Starbucks came in with their application, we asked those questions, and they,
Yeah, but my understanding is you come to the counter, you order your drink,
Right.
pay, you select your own seat, and they have a runner delivers you the drink and/or food.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm not sensing, overall opposition. I'm just sensing that we don't understand all the things that are in play here. And, liquor licenses still are a big deal in this town to a certain degree, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing. At least I do.
Yeah, and have the applicant maybe come next time.
Yeah.
Well, so Pete's would come probably, they'd probably want this.
well, they
Well, that's a
were
corporate
around when
thing
we
for
gave it
them. They
to-
might
Well,
not.
they might not, but another coffee shop might, it sort of opens the lid a little bit, so.
Starbucks
should
was,
understand it.
Starbucks was first, right?
Yeah, we did
That was
it
the
with
only
them
one
and
with
no one-
Starbucks.
Right.
Right.
And the others didn't.
And was this
around for that.
consistent, the timing with the Starbucks? I think,
No.
no,
This,
they had a different time, or we don't
the
know.
Class F, what was the original time for Class?
5 PM.
Oh, right.
So there's a different time.
Yeah, so we're suggesting the 9 AM for consistency with the restaurants, so maybe Hometown has no interest at 9 AM, you
Yep.
know?
Well, they're not gonna want it at 5 because they'd close.
No, but it
Right,
could
I
be
mean-
like 10 or 11, which
So this will give me a chance to reach out to him and talk, so
There we
I'm
go.
looking forward to that anyway, so now we can do that.
Over a cup of coffee.
Little free games for the Sunday games.
So, you okay with that, Mark?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have one procedural question for the
Yeah.
council.
We still need to introduce
Do
it.
you want to introduce it tonight pending, all you're doing is introducing, you're not approving it, so that when when you get the answers to your questions, you can decide whether you want to approve it next time, or you could waive introduction.
There's no rush.
Okay.
I don't want to,
You don't want to introduce it tonight?
no, because I don't want to create an expectation that we might not be able to fill if we don't get good answers.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, so you say they're not ready. Do you have any idea when they think they would open?
Yeah, the contractor is incapable of providing accurate information.
So it's a couple months.
No, it's probably a good 6-8 weeks away. Yeah, they got to go through IDPH yet, and
Okay.
it's going to be a while,
Okay.
so. All right, so at this point, we're just going to, are we going to table it? Is that what we do?
You just defer it till the next meeting.
Yeah, you
Okay.
deferred, you haven't, there's no, there was no motion, so you can just, without objection, it'll be deferred to the next meeting.
Okay, does anybody object to deferring it to the next meeting?
Nope.
Okay. So deferred.
Okay.
So we'll see you next time, Mark, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, President Rents. I was just informed by our AV person that some of the microphones don't appear to be on. So could everyone just quickly test to make sure their microphone is on?
We just turned it up a little.
Okay, perfect.
Rob, yours is done. Oh, no, there it is.
Okay.
Just make sure it's on.
Testing.
And I know it's difficult with the masks on, but just
Yeah.
because we're recording so that everyone can be heard
Sounds like
clearly.
we're,
Okay,
If
thank
they can't
you.
hear us, they can read our lips.
Okay, looks like David's in a hurry, so we'll just move right along here.
Monday night.
All right, item 8B, ordinance number M16, 2021 is 582 Provident Ave. This is for variations, introduction, possible adoption. The owners of the subject property have requested for an approval of a zoning variation to allow construction of additions to the existing structure on the subject property. The variation request was recommended for approval at the July ZBA meeting by a vote of 4-2. Community Development Director David Schoen will review. I wanted to add one thing too, is that they were actually, these applicants were actually teed up to be at the same meeting as the items that we had on last week, but I knew we were going to have a pretty full boat, so they got kicked over. So if we're leaning towards doing this, it probably would be appropriate to adopt this evening. So, but we'll take it from there and let David do his thing.
Sure. Good evening. So as part of the application, there are 4 variation requests. The vote was 4-2, and the 2 who voted no could not support just one of the variations. So I just really, I would say from the ZBA's perspective, it was unanimous on 3 of them, but they couldn't vote for the request because of the one, and that's the corner yard setback.
is this all a package deal? I'm sorry, David. You all have to go 4 together? Is that the,
Their current request includes all 4.
okay.
So the property is located on the northwest corner of Provident and Spruce Street, so it is a corner lot. It is zoned R5, single-family residential. These are 2 images of the house. The one on the left is from Provident, so looking west, and the one on the right is from Spruce, looking north. As you can see, there is an existing garage. When looking at the Spruce Street image, in the far back left corner there, so that's actually the northwest corner of the lot. So there's an existing garage there. This image is showing the placement of the proposed improvements in relationship to the adjacent properties on Spruce and Provident.
The variations are being requested in order to replace the existing detached garage with an attached garage that would measure approximately 430 square feet. The plan also includes a family room, mudroom, and work area that would add 440 square feet with a master suite above. Front porch addition is proposed that would create a wraparound porch, as it would be a continuation of the existing front porch along Provident. As in the staff report, there is a table showing the various variation requests. I'm just going to focus on the corner side setback variation that is being requested. So as you can see from this table, the existing structure house on the property already is a nonconformity in terms that it doesn't meet the minimum setback requirement from Spruce Street. The proposal, which includes this wraparound porch, reduces that front yard setback by about 4.4 feet to make it 13.46 feet, thus in the end requiring a variation of nearly 8 feet or 38%. Included in the staff report were images of the proposed plans. This shows the proposed addition on the north side of the house and the proposed attached garage. It also then shows the proposed porch, open porch, along Spruce Street. And this shows the master suite that's located on the second level. This image is looking from Providence, so on the right-hand side is the addition, and behind that is the garage, and then on the left-hand side is the proposed open porch that would run along Spruce Street. This image then is looking from Spruce, so you can see the proposed open porch addition that would appear along Spruce Street, and then the proposed attached garage, which again is set back from the street, back in that northwest corner of the lot. So as we've already covered, the ZBA recommended approval 4-2. The two who voted no could not support the corner yard setback. And as President Rentz indicated, tonight on your agenda, it's been noticed both for introduction or, if you wish, to waive introduction and adoption. And with that, I'd be happy to answer questions or wait until after you hear from them.
Yeah, I'd love to hear, you guys want to come up and tell us a story, if you would? I mean, I think it always helps to understand what you're trying to accomplish. And even though we love architects, we love homeowners more.
So you want me to step aside?
No, I didn't say that.
I'm Chip Hackley. I'm the architect for the project. The issue, or issues really, are the corner lot situation where the house is placed. The garage is basically replacing an existing garage that is in failure. It's close enough to the house right now where it kind of should be attached anyway. It's a one-story piece, so it's not impacting the neighbors. The square footage is really a result of, just the way that the square footage is counted on this property, and the porch wrap is really just, it's an aesthetic piece, but it's also, because there's virtually no backyard on this property, we're trying to extend the outdoor living space, which most people have in their grass and their turf panels, instead of having the kids, always in the front yard or on the side yard right along the sidewalk, which is somewhat sloped. It's just nice to have that family space, which they use an awful lot of as a current front porch to wrap around, and in the same fell swoop, improve that aesthetic, which is kind of, as I explained in the variation proceedings, call it the broad side of the barn. It's just kind of blah on that side, and that's the most prominent visual. So our wishes are to address that by introducing more human scale, giving them the space
to accommodate for the loss or the lack of yard space and make the improvements to the house so they can stay there. You guys like to say anything?
Hi, I'm Brian Donahoe. Thanks for listening to us here. Another thing that we're dealing with is for whatever reason, our house is, being a corner lot, most corner lot houses are still the same amount of distance, a consistent distance from the next house as the rest of the houses on the block. If you remember that picture from the first picture, when you're looking at it from Provident, for whatever reason, our house, there's a gap between our house and the next north house. It just makes for this kind of awkward gap. And there's a side yard in there. We have a deck, and we will grill out there, but our kids don't really use it. So as Chip said, we would use that space where the current deck is to bump out the living room and make some more space for our family, and we'd build above that as well. But we'd have this kind of Tetris-type outdoor space where we'd have a good amount of it on paper. We would have a full driveway, and we'd have a good front yard. But it's just kind of broken up, and this wraparound porch, I think, would just allow us to really kind of maximize that outdoor space. And also being on the corner, it kind of just brings both of the streets together. And I think that it will result in the right amount of space for our family. We've got 3 small kids. There's been a lot of turnover, I think, in that house just for the past, I don't know, however many decades. There's usually, I think, about an average of like 4 or 5 years. And we did some work when we first moved in about 5 years ago. We just spruced up the kitchen a little bit. But I think this is what we want for a very long term. We love that corner so much, and I think that just having that additional outdoor space, I think, would be really nice for the block and really nice for our family as well.
Hi.
Yeah, this house is from 1907. We like that a lot. We live among a lot of white, new farmhouses, and we're very much looking to keep the charm of this town intact with our very old home. So yeah, the changes that we're going to make are so that we don't have to leave. And so that no one might knock it down in the future and build another white farmhouse. So yes, thank you for listening. We're really excited. Chip has drawn up something beautiful, and so much so that we're so open to all these approvals and going through all the work to make it work. So thank you.
I guess one last thing. We realize on paper it looks like we're asking for a lot. But as Chip said, the garage, as it stands now, is a pretty much dilapidated garage. I mean, it's not going to fall down on us. At least that's what the inspector said. But it's looking pretty rough. So essentially, what we'll be doing is just knocking it down and building it up in its place, and then adjoining it. So it's not going to look that much. And the point of the design is it still somewhat looks like a detached garage. So net difference is not going to be that much. So that was just the last thing I wanted to add. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll thank you, Brian and Katie, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll open it up. So Chip, maybe you want to stay there for a sec?
Sure.
Any questions for David and or Chip or the applicants?
I've got
I do have one. It's going to continue to be stucco. You're right. You're going to basically, the addition is going to be, you're going to carry forward the same material.
All the materials are consistent with the original, and actually the materials are all original. I mean, even the siding we think is from '07.
Really?
I mean, the shingles up above, maybe not all of them, but yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, my thing. You know, and seamless integration.
Yep.
Yes, all consistent.
Okay. Guys?
Yeah,
I think it's
just
beautiful.
a couple of quick questions. I may have missed it, but any issues with the impervious area, stormwater, and roof area?
No, we comply with all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no request for permeable lot coverage variation or roof lot cover variation.
Okay. And any neighbors come to the hearings complaining or in favor of?
No.
Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
I'm sorry, Kristen, we didn't have any public comment come through on,
No public comment on this matter, President Rents.
okay, thanks.
I just had a quick question.
Go ahead.
On the size of the garage, is it looking like you're going to get a little bit more space in the garage than the existing garage, or is it exactly the same size?
It's a little bigger because you really can't fit
Right.
into the existing. It's kind of that, well, 1907, we have no idea what size cars are going to be problem. So I think the inside dimension is currently 19, I can't remember exactly, 19 and a half feet.
Oh,
It's,
yeah. It looked like it would, to be functional, it might need
yeah,
to
it's
be.
just slightly bigger.
And then just some of the interior, because, obviously, 1907 house, 114 years old, not designed for modern living. It looks like some of the interior benefits is a mudroom, a functional garage. Any other things you want to highlight of how, some of the internal spaces are going to change?
Well, the floor plan had been opened up a little bit previously by the work they had done, so we're expanding that for a more appropriate living space,
Yeah.
kind of family living, but also utilizing the vast majority of the kitchen that they put in. So we're not destroying that and rebuilding it. So, but then the family room, the spaces we're adding onto this house are not out of proportion with the original, size of rooms. That's another thing that I think is important when you maintain the character of these old houses, is to maintain that scale. I can't prove it unless maybe when we dig, if you allow us to dig that for that porch, but it seems like there was a porch that wrapped around that thing in the beginning. It just would make sense, because it's just, I've found porch pilings exactly where I've designed them on old houses before. Always an exciting discovery, so we'll see. But it just seems to be, what we're trying to do is not destroy the house, not make it massive, not, yes, the house didn't have a master suite when, it was built. That just didn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, primary suite. But trying to do it in character and context.
Yeah. And so really the offending, the variation that caused concern by the two members is really caused by the wraparound porch?
Porch, which is the prettiest part.
Which is a great design element. Okay, I got it.
Question.
Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks.
So as far as neighbor impact, the garage, it looks like it's the same distance from the neighbor, just moving over? Am I looking at that?
It's the north lot line, I believe that the garage wall of the north wall of the garage is staying exactly where it is. The west line up moves slightly.
Okay.
And that's just to accommodate the width that we need to get a
I'm with
reasonable
you.
garage.
But as far as distance from the lot line and the neighbor, it's just moving over, it's not going back.
Correct. And if you see in the plan, there's no way to move the garage toward the east.
Right.
Down, it's just because the house blocks it. It's literally, what is it? 2.5 feet from the house, 3 feet from the house right now?
Oh, is that right?
Yes, it's,
Yeah. Got it. And so as far as the zoning, not voting for it because of the porch, it's just the square footage of the porch? It's not closer to really to a neighbor, it's the
not the
front
neighbor,
yard?
to the street.
I'm a sucker for a wraparound porch, I went growing up.
Well, and it's interesting because the way they've described, I've experienced the house, but certainly not like they have. That's the really much more social side of the house.
Yeah.
So people walking their dogs and saying hello and stopping on the sidewalk and talking, that's where you want to be.
Yeah,
You're on the front porch, you got to come over to the side and talk
Right.
over the corner.
okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead, Bob.
First, I'm all in on this. Again, Chip, you're known for working with these old homes. We see your name with the LPC on a regular basis, and I appreciate that. I think you'll do a great job. I think this renovation looks beautiful, And I am delighted that the house is not going to meet the wrecking ball. I mean, this is, again, we've got a couple of these in the last few weeks, and it's really good. So I'm all in on this. David, I think the notes contradict your comments on stormwater. I think there is detention that's required here, if I read it correctly.
Well, there's two issues. There's an impermeable lot coverage from a zoning perspective. They don't need a variation for that.
Okay.
However, the amount of additional impermeable coverage they're putting on the
Right.
lot is greater than 25%. And per our code, because it's greater than 25%, that additional amount will have to provide stormwater.
I don't know if that's what you
Yeah,
were
ma-
asking, or?
No, you answered my question. I
Oh,
understood.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, all right, so that's all part of this project, that the detention will come in and meet the engineering standards and so on?
Yep.
Okay, great. Looks terrific.
Right. All right.
Good.
Chip, you can have a seat. We'll open it up for any other comments, deliberation, thoughts?
I think it's great. Like Bob said, every time we get one of these where people are saving an old house, it's a win. The design is beautiful. Thank you for making the investment and caring enough to do this. I love four squares. And we had this discussion last week about our future master plan and things people should be thinking about. We had that discussion about outdoor spaces and how maybe we ought to be thinking about that more in zoning variations. And this is like a perfect example, because if ever there was a time for a really big porch, this is it. And, and it probably will be for the next 100 years, because it's just a great thing. So thank you. I love it.
Good with it down here? Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add was, I've been walking up and down Spruce Street for many, many years, and it was kind of cool seeing the house across the street go through that transformation, and really turned out to be a little gem, and that was nothing but a little box, and they've really done a wonderful job. Now, you're going to come along and change that corner. Of course, across the street, that was a new construction. The house that was there was a disaster when it was there. And the one kitty corner from you has undergone work from time to time, too, so that the whole corner is really starting to be a really nice anchor and has a real good neighborhood feel. And, your kids out in the front yard all the time kind of help add to that, too. So, but I think it's a great project, too. So thanks for taking the hard course and saving something rather than tearing it down. So, all right, well, how do we feel about waiving introduction?
I think that's good.
You think it's okay? Tina, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, then I'll try to go down the list of waiving intro stuff. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M16, 2021?
So moved.
That's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes, you're correct. Yep.
Okay, secondly, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M16, 2021?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes?
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
That motion carries. Congratulations. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Now the pain begins.
Come. When it's done, you should apply for a preservation award, because
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
a kind of project like that, so.
Chip will do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So are we. Thank
See you
you.
later.
Congratulations.
They don't have to sign anything now.
Yep.
This is rather unusual, but we'll move right along. Item number 9, old business, there is none. Item number 10, new business, there is none. Item 11, we already did, so that's great. And item 12, closed session. May I have a motion to adjourn the closed session for the purpose of discussing specific personnel, disposition and setting of price for village property, and probable or imminent litigation pursuant to sections 2C1, 2C6, and 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act, and to adjourn the open meeting automatically and immediately upon the conclusion of the closed session without the conduct of any further business or comments.
So moved.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Kreip.
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes?
Trustee Apitoff. Trustee Swerk.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
That motion carries. Let's go ahead and close the door.